Good morning. There has been a ritual in my family for almost every Christmas day since I can remember. My mother would insist everyone stop whatever they were doing, be it finishing off the Christmas dinner or opening gifts or preparing for a walk, even washing dishes, and sit down together at 3 o'clock on a sofa to watch the Queen's speech on TV. The family tradition dated back to 1952, which was the year that my mum and my aunt married two brothers and later sat together glued to the TV watching the Queen's accession to the throne. Elizabeth R. was a young woman of the same age as them, and they were enthralled, and each felt as though they were growing up with her thereafter. My mum named me after her, and in their hearts I know they felt proud of her, as if she was some kind of royal sibling. And this sense of identifying with someone and being inspired by them clings to me in relation to Simon Peter, though the circumstances are so different. And in our story today, the commentators say that Luke was trying to rehabilitate Simon Peter for his readership. He leaves out two of Peter's most embarrassing moments, and unlike the other gospel writers, includes the risen Christ appearing to Peter. It's also in Luke alone that we read that Peter and the other disciples left everything and followed Jesus. To follow a rabbi meant to become their disciple. Luke also has Peter referring to Jesus as Master, unlike the other Gospels. Some of you may remember a Sunday school song that I used to sing, complete with fishing actions. I will make you fishers of men, fishers of men, fishers of men. I will make you fishers of men if you follow me. If you follow me. If you follow me. And so on. I just loved it. But it has taken me until now to realise that the main point of that story in Luke was not about us becoming fishers of men, but rather to show what it takes to begin the journey to ministry as an apostle, like Peter. Let's sing again and return to this in a few minutes. We tend to think that Peter and the others just dropped their nets and followed Jesus, but probably it wasn't such a sudden conversion. In the preceding chapter in Luke, Jesus had been teaching throughout Galilee, performing healings and exorcisms, and even healed Peter's mother-in-law. He then asked Peter to use his boat to preach from. He must have realised there was a struggle going on in Peter's mind, a struggle that erupted in that great cry of Peter's when he saw the huge catch of fish. "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man." He's overwhelmed by his sense of unworthiness, by contrast with Jesus' holiness. And it's to be wondered whether any of us can truly know conversion unless we have experienced moments like this ourselves. But for our purposes today, perhaps the most useful thing to note is that there was a split second in Peter's life in which he might have warded off that crisis and saved himself from feeling it and falling down at Jesus' knees in repentance. You see, Peter was a fisherman and Jesus a carpenter. There was no reason to suspect that Jesus knew Peter's trade better than him. Peter knew they had toiled all night and caught nothing. Peter will have been tired and grumpy, Jesus was already holding him up from returning home to sleep by asking to use the boat. So when Jesus tells Peter to take the boats out again and let down their nets, the temptation for Peter to just say, "Not today, mate," that must have been great. But Peter says, "Master, we've worked all night and caught nothing. But if you say so, I will let down the nets." How easily he might have missed that defining moment for all time, and how easily we may. All he needed to do was nothing. But Peter didn't do nothing. He acted on what Jesus said, and once his decision was made, he didn't look back. And I think that's why I love him. And I also think that's why I love the Queen. Once she had made her vows, she didn't look back. And it gives me a sense of great pride in her, in being related to her by church and nation. May we take her and Peter as sources of inspiration today, and no matter how many reasons we may have to say no to Jesus, choose to follow him. And if he says so, let down the nets.